Hi, my name is Max Gilbert. Thanks for being here. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist and I train therapists. The most common thing, bar none, that I see in this very room that we're in now, in my therapy room, is clients coming for anxiety, often debilitating anxiety. So let's look today at social anxiety, what it is, where it comes from, what it's all about. The more you understand, the more empowered you are. So, social anxiety really is like a bolt-on to the core of anxiety. Think of anxiety as the sun up in the sky, that sun, and then around it orbit all of these other habits, one of them being social anxiety. So that is the fear of perhaps being in a crowd, nervousness around speaking to people, often even if you know them, fear of being out and about in case you encounter somebody, not necessarily somebody hostile, you know, even friends or people you know. It often tends to be worse in places where there are lots of people and you don't know them. You see the anxious process, that not knowing those people creates questions, which triggers the anxiety, and then all you want to do is get out of there. As social anxiety develops, because it does like any element of anxiety, as social anxiety develops, what it can do is eventually stop people actually leaving the house. That may sound extreme, but it's far more common than you would think. So then imagine that the world gets so much smaller. But it's only driven by the fear, which is completely artificial, that anxiety generates. Again, it's not a real thing. There isn't actually any risk by going to see your friends or going out for the night or going to the shops. The streets, as I say often, the streets are not full of lions and tigers. There isn't any actual peril. But it's that artificial fear that anxiety drives. So how do we deal, or how do I deal, and the therapists that I train, how do we all deal with social anxiety? What we don't do is start with all of these satellites orbiting the core of anxiety. You could be there forever. Some people come in here and they've got 30 different symptoms of anxiety. That would mean potentially that person being in therapy forever. Nobody wants that. So what we do, we start on extinguishing the sun. We put this bit out. When you put this bit out, all of these satellites have got nowhere to orbit. So their orbit decays and they all crumble. So any other symptoms that you've got at the same time, it might be fear of driving, it could be strange physical sensations, it could be strange thoughts, insomnia, you know, waking up in the middle of the night, worrying if you fed the cat, all kinds of stuff. It might sound funny, but, you know, anxiety will literally latch on to pretty much anything that it can. So when we extinguish that sun in the middle, which only really takes a couple of weeks, then all of these other things, basically they implode on their own. One or two of them, if they're really bad, really acute, if you're really suffering, they might need a little bit of work. But by a little bit of work, because we're hypnotherapists, not talking therapists, I'll come on to that in another video, we can deal with those things very quickly and easily. And importantly, this is the thing, permanently. When you've been through a therapeutic process, the last thing you want to happen is you've then got to go and find another therapist 6 weeks later because you wake up one day and it's all come back. So that, in a nutshell, is a definition of social anxiety, how we can deal with it. And yeah, the good news is it really is, in 99 out of 100 situations, it's permanent. There's the occasional person we do a little bit of tidying up a couple of weeks later and everything is fine. So if you're struggling with social anxiety, don't. Speak to you soon.